Okay, we are ready to start our painting. What I've done here is I've set it up so that the camera is directly above the paper, and I will be painting certain techniques and allowing you to observe as I do it, and I will explain things as I go along. Of course, we won't be able to shoot video for this entire painting. It will take at least under 100 hours, maybe more. So 100 hours of video is just not practical. So what we'll do is, as I do different techniques throughout, I will do short clips of what I'm doing, and then I will continue painting, and then you'll see as we progress along. The first thing I do before I start painting is, once I get the colors selected in my palette for the particular area that I'm working on at the time, is I will take a brush. So let me just move this aside a little bit. I will take a brush like this, just something with lots of bristles on it, and I will make sure that there's no eraser droppings from when I did the sketch. Make sure there's nothing there. And also, I don't like having lint showing up on my painting. What happens if you get a little bit of lint on your paper when you're doing a watercolor painting, the pigment tends to gather around that piece of lint, and you get a darker area where you're not expecting it. So make sure that you get your paper nice and clean, and I usually do this at the beginning of each painting session. So I got my paints sorted out here, and you notice I have a piece of paper here. That's to kind of protect the rest of the painting while I'm working on a particular area. And as I talked about in the previous video, we're going to begin our painting with this old rotten log here. It's what seems to be furthest away. So what we'll do is we'll start with these lighter colors, and if you can see, I'm not sure if the camera can pick up the colors very easily, but in this log we have some grays, a little bit of brown color, and here's blue, some blue highlights and shading and so on. So what I've selected here is several colors. I have Winsor Newton picked out, Payne's Gray, Neutral Tint, and Ivory Black. So what these will do is make various shades of gray. Now the beige color I will put in right at the end, just before I move on to the other parts of the plant. And the reason for that is this is sort of what gives the overall tone, but I want to get the basic shapes in first. And what I normally do is I start with the darker colors here, get those shades in, and then I'll put in the different lighter colors later on. I probably break a few rules when it comes to watercolor painting because I've never actually had any formal training. All of this is what I've learned over 40 years of painting, and it's just the way I learned to do it, and it works for me. If you have a different technique of doing it, that's fine, but this is how I do it. So anyway, we will begin by painting this section right here. So I'll do a little bit of this in this particular video, and I will continue on. Of course, I wouldn't be able to videotape the entire thing because it just would take too long. So let's just do a small section of this area. You'll get an idea of how I do it. So off to my side here, I have a little bit of water, a little jar of water here, and I have two larger jars behind me for washing the brushes as I need it. So what I begin with is some darker colors, and I'm noticing in here it's a really dark color, almost a black gray color. Now some watercolor artists will say don't use black, but I use black quite a bit in my paintings. But what I find is by the time the painting is done, you've put other colors over the top because you're not going totally black, and it ends up not being black actually. You warm up these colors by the time you're finished. But this is a really good way to sort of bring out the different shapes. So what I have to do here, I just can't be painting straight through here. I have to keep an eye out for these little twigs and things. So I make sure I get those. So what I'll do is I'll start with getting this little shadow here, and so that when I paint this, I don't accidentally paint over. But of course, if I do paint over, there is a way to fix it, which we will talk about later. So I'll start off right here, and then I'll go up this little twig here, and so on. So just watch. It seems a bit dark right now, but don't worry about that. That won't be as dark when we're done. So we'll go up to this leaf here. And then, so I just did up along here. Actually, up along here. So now I'm going to do this one. Next, you'll notice there's a little twig along here, so I'll do that one. Now, one of the things you have to be careful of course, is not running your hand through the paint. It dries in about maybe 10 seconds. And you get a light line like this. That's what I love about watercolor paintings. Your paint tends to dry really quickly. I've painted with oils in the past, and sometimes you have to wait a few days, depending on the color you're using. So we're putting in all those shades. So now all that time I spent sketching is paying off. So I know exactly where these highlights go, or low lights, I guess. Okay, so we keep all these. As you can see, this is already dry. All right, now next we got that sort of figured out here. So now we're going to put in these, looks like cracks in the log. So we'll begin. I like to begin something that's a focal point, like this knot here. So we'll take this knot here and shape that out. Right above this berry here, we got a nice little dark area. So I get some and so on. So I will keep doing this. Wouldn't be able to videotape the entire thing, but after I get those lines in, what I will do is take some really light colors of gray. We got neutral tint here, and also some Payne's gray. So what I'll do is get some really light colors, and now when I'm ready, once I do the other parts, I will put in these lighter shades of color. And what that will do, it will give some texture to the log. This may even be a bit light to pick up on the camera. So we'll go through like this, and this will look like a real log when it's done. You just gotta be patient and do a little bit at a time. And so here you'll notice there's a little bit of white here, or a little bit of blue rather. So what I'll do is I'll pick up some Winsor blue and I'll put in this highlight here, like so. And that's the way we'll do it. So I'm going to continue painting, and when I get a section done, I will turn the camera back on and you can see my progress.